Good morning, my friends. Welcome to our New Testament challenge. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some thoughts from the 12th chapter of the Gospel of Luke. I hope you have been enjoying this as much as I have. There's a lot of good stuff here in this kind of the meaty section of Luke, a lot of different types of teachings, and we see more conflict going on as we get closer to the end. And Jesus' teaching becomes more and more pointed, which is interesting. Luke 12 starts off, he says, as the crowds gathered in thousands, he can tell his popularity's increasing. He's doing more healings, more, casting out of demons. And so word's getting around and people are coming to see. They're bringing folks to see. And as he's doing that, he's also talking to his disciples, teaching them. In the midst of this, you can just imagine that as they're like, wow, look at these crowds. This is wonderful. He says, be careful of the yeast of the Pharisees. And he says, beware of their hypocrisy. What is told in secret will be known. He says, you can try to hide your sin, but it will come out. And we just need to be careful about that. And he says, I tell you, do not fear those who kill the body, but fear those who can condemn you to hell. And I tell you, God is the only one who can do that. And 5 sparrows, you can buy 5 sparrows for 2 pennies. And he says God knows every sparrow and he knows every hair on his head. You have more value than the sparrows. So remember that. And if those who acknowledge me will acknowledge the Son of Man, acknowledge God in heaven, and I will acknowledge them before my God. So just be careful about that. Parable of the rich fool. Let's see. He talks about, he says, there's this man, he looks out and he says, I've got a lot of stuff. I know what I need to do. I need to tear down what I've got and build even bigger. And so I can just sit back and I can enjoy and I can, party and just have all sorts of good stuff. And Jesus says, you fool, you can do what you can. You can plan what you can, but, certain things are outside of your control. And so he says, so it is that those who store up treasures for themselves but are not rich toward God. You can do all that here on earth, but we heard the saying, you can't take it with you. Treasures built on earth don't have value in heaven. Other things that we do on earth does have value, and so we need to make sure, even as we are earning our living, that we are responding to our salvation by putting together treasure in heaven, putting to work the fruit of the Spirit, and so on and so on. He says, don't worry, to the disciples. I love that. Easier said than done. I understand that. He says, don't worry about what you will eat or what you will wear, for life is more than food and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap, yet God feeds them. And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? Now, it may feel like it. When you're worrying, the time passes so slowly. But it does not add any kind of quality. It does not add any kind of quantity to your life. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where is your treasure? Think about that. Where is your treasure? What do you treasure most in life? That's where your heart's going to be. And where's your heart? That's where your treasure is going to be. It kind of they work in sync. A lot of people would say your family. Yeah, think about that. But a lot of people, it's your prestige, it's how much money you have, it's what you have. But if God is your treasure, if you treasure your relationship with God, That's where your heart will be, and you will see, you will find, as if you look for more blessings, you will find more blessings. If you look for God at work, you will find more often the hints of God at work. It kind of works that way. He says, "Be dressed for action and have your lamps lit." Kind of like those servants or slaves. He says, just be aware, be ready, for you never know when the master's going to come back. And so this is a veiled reference to the second coming, when God comes back, when Jesus comes back. But he's also saying, you never know when God's going to use you. You never know when God says, all right, here's your time. And so our job is to be ready, to prepare ourselves, to do, as best we can with what we have, and knowing that we do it to honor God. And then he said, finally, he says, I came to bring fire to the earth, and how I wish it was already kindled. I have a baptism with which to be baptized, and what stress I'm under, and it is until it is completed. Do you think that I came to bring peace? No, I came to bring division. They will be father against son, and mother against daughter, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. It's going to cause conflict. What I say will cause division. And for those of us that hate conflict, this is a tough passage to hear. But I understand it, because there are people who will not abide, that will not hear, and do not take what Jesus said seriously. And so there is going to be conflict, and how we deal with it is the important thing. He says to the crowds, he said, hey, you see a cloud rising in the west, it's going to rain. He says, look for the signs. Look for the signs around you that God is at work. Look for the signs that God is, Jesus is coming back. Look for the signs. We can tell the physical signs, but we can also, I think he says, you can tell when God is at work. And then finally he says, now, why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? He says, on your way to the magistrate, make every effort to settle the case, or you can be dragged before the judge, and the judge hands you over to the officer, and the officer throws you in prison. He's saying, and again, here he's talking to the disciples, I think, specifically. He says, deal with your conflict yourselves. Don't put it off. Don't put it off. Don't allow someone else to, legislate and hand over, be the judge and the jury stuff. He says, you have that opportunity to deal with that yourself and to understand what that means. He says, take the initiative to deal with the conflict and come to a peaceful resolution. Man, this is intense. I hope it's been helpful for you, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thanks.